Good evening and welcome to Group Therapy here on PowerMizzou.com, brought to you by the Bruning Law Firm after a 97-93 overtime loss in Nashville, Tennessee to Vanderbilt. Worst loss of the year. I'm not going to try to talk you guys off ledges. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We'll get to all that. Let's get the bills paid first and remind you guys that if you find yourself in need of a personal injury attorney, if you have been injured, like not like tonight, like you're sad and upset about a basketball game, but like for real, then get in touch with our friends at the Bruning Law Firm. They're experienced. They use data. They're going to get you back to your life quickly. You can get a hold of them at 573-400-2796 for a free consultation. That is 573-400-2796. They will serve you if you live in Missouri, Illinois, or the state of Kansas. So, all right, guys. Drew King's going to join us from Nashville in a little bit. We've got some voicemails. We'll get to all that. I'll get to your comments in the chat. I want to say this first. I normally try to be the voice of reason. Try to tell you it's not quite as bad as you think it is. All that. This is as bad as you think it is tonight. This is the worst loss of the season. I don't think there's any question. Missouri, honestly, I thought they were going to lose that game all night until they went up 6 with 2 minutes left. And then I finally thought they were going to win. And credit Vandy for making a couple big shots to give them somewhat of a chance. But you have it. They made their free throws. They did almost everything they had to do to win that game for 39 minutes and 51 seconds. And then, and we're going to get to it because I've seen the comments and I don't disagree with you guys. This is on Trent Pierce and Dennis Gates, guys. It just is. There's no other way to put it. So Zachary says, is that the first loss all year solely on Gates' shoulders? No, it's not solely on Gates' shoulders. It is, a lot of it's on Gates' shoulders. And so let's just say first, why not foul up 3? And look, I'm not saying fouling up 3 would have been wrong. I absolutely get the logic. And I am a huge proponent of foul up 3. I always foul up 3 if there's less than like 5 seconds left. Here's the one reason I understood not fouling up 3 tonight. So you have 9 seconds left, right? They come across midcourt, still probably, 6 seconds left. So at that point, that's a little too much time to foul because even if you foul there, okay, if they make 2, they're going to foul you. You're still going to have to make 2, and they're going to get the ball back. And they might get the ball back down 2. So at that point, I wouldn't have fouled. Now, once they drive inside the 3-point line with 4 seconds left, that's when the foul should have occurred. Because even if the guy throws up a shot and it's a 2-shot foul, like it doesn't matter. So they should have fouled then. But the biggest mistake was not fouling. The biggest mistake was not fouling. The biggest mistake is the only thing that can beat you there that can tie you there is a 3-point shot. A 2 absolutely doesn't help you. Trent Pierce helping off the best shooter, not really helping off, but like backing off. He was watching the ball and he kind of chased the ball and he left the best shooter on the floor alone. And that forced overtime. And once it went to overtime, they were beat, guys. I mean, they just were. And you understand why. So it's that decision. It's Dennis Gates, and I know because I saw Drew's tweet. Dennis Gates said he should have called timeout before that possession. 100% he should have. Like, you have to call a timeout and tell your guys, the only thing we can't do is give up a 3. I don't care if we foul. I don't care if we give up a layup. I don't care what we do. The only thing we can't do is give up a 3-pointer. And here are the guys you can't let shoot it. He didn't call the timeout then. Then there's 2.3 seconds left. You can score in 2.3 seconds. You can design a play that is not a Tamar Bates dribble twice and heave it from 55 feet. And he didn't call timeout then either. So, yes, Dennis Gates, worst night of the year. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat that, guys. Worst night of the year. But it's not all on him because if you're a Division I scholarship basketball player, like you've got to understand the situation. And look, Trent Pierce was bad before that, and then he was bad on that play, and then he gave up Vandy's first 6 points of overtime. And again, we go back to Gates. Why is he on the floor? Like, there's got to be somebody else. And so this is where my job has changed a little bit in the last couple of years. These guys are getting paid now. They're basically pro athletes. Trent Pierce lost that game tonight. Doesn't mean he's a bad kid. Doesn't mean he's a bad player. Doesn't mean I'm going to say anything personal about him. But Trent Pierce and Dennis Gates lost that game tonight. And it's the most damaging loss of the year, and here's why. I mean, it's a quad one loss. It's a road loss. Vandy's beaten Kentucky there and Tennessee there. And in that sense, it's not a bad loss. It's a bad loss in two ways, though. Number one, it was a win. Like, you had this. This was over, and you lost it. Number two, you have now completely lost control of your destiny. Like, to get a top 4 seed in the SEC tournament, you now need significant help. It is unlikely. I think Missouri will most likely be the 5 or the 6 seed. But more than that, you can't argue if you're not a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. You have completely left the decision in the hands of the committee with this loss and the Arkansas loss. And like, look, it happens to a lot of teams. Doesn't mean Missouri can't make a run, can't make a Final Four, whatever. The season's not over, all that. But you had it there in these road games the last 2 Saturdays. You had it there to take, to control. Missouri could basically be a top 4 seed now. It could pretty much be over. But they aren't because of the last 2 Saturdays. And last Saturday, Arkansas scored 44 points in the paint. This Saturday, Vanderbilt, with a far less imposing front court, scored 48 points in the paint. You want to know how Missouri's going to lose in the postseason? When they lose, we've seen it. That's why they're going to get beat up in the front court, in the paint. Josh Gray, not good enough tonight. Like, Dennis Gates has talked all year about him being on the all-defensive team. If you've got an all-defensive front court player, you don't give up 48 points in the paint to Vanderbilt. Just got crushed on the offensive glass in the first half. 12 offensive rebounds in the first 6 minutes. I'll give Mark Mitchell credit. He played a good second half. I didn't think he was any good in the first half, but he played a good second half. Gray killed him. Pierce killed him. The interior defense, I mean, it just, those are the reasons. And like, look, I'm not breaking ground here, right? 270 videos, Pierce's D and coaching is why we lost. 100% agree with all of it. No doubt. Henry says the context of the loss is the difference maker. And Henry, quit super chatting me, man. Just make your comment. I'll put it on. You don't got to super chat me. You're our intern. I pay you. You don't pay me. But yeah, I mean, 100%. It's not that they lost. This is not a bad loss in the sense that, like, Vanderbilt's a tournament team. They're definitely a tournament team now. But it's a bad loss in the way it happened. David Pierce was miserable, especially late defensively. Yeah, look, guys, we're all seeing the same thing. I mean, we are all seeing the absolute same thing. So Tiercell says, at some point, the other team's shots will stop falling. Oh, no, I couldn't agree less. At some point, the other team's shots will start falling. Vanderbilt was 2 for 18 from 3, and Missouri was ahead by a point. Missouri should have led that game by 15 points 10 minutes in. The only reason there were multiple reasons they didn't, but one of them was Vandy was just missing. And like, 3-point defense, guys, it's largely luck. Like, Caleb Grill missed some shots in the second half. He made it in the first half, right? Vandy made shots in the second half. So I'm not going to credit Missouri for like elite defense in the first 20 minutes. Vanderbilt missed open shots. They started 2 for 18 from 3 and then went 6 for 8. They were still only 8 for 26 from 3-point range. Like, that was not a great Tyler Nickel hit 7 threes in Vandy's last game. That was not a great 3-point shooting night from Vanderbilt. That was a below average 3-point shooting night for Vanderbilt. It was just that to even get to below average, they had to go to 6 for 8. But that wasn't a tip your cap and, hey, the shots went down. Not at all. Here's another point by STLMIZ, and I agree with this. Jacob Cruz shoots 75% of the time he touches. Look, Jacob Cruz got to stop acting like he's Caleb Grill. I don't have a problem with the shots Grill's taking. He's made those all year. He's your guy. If you go down with Caleb Grill, I said this last Saturday. If you lose in the postseason because Caleb Grill misses 7 threes, I'm fine with it. Like it happens. I can live with it. That three Jacob Cruz took in overtime was you can't take it. I mean, you just can't. Only Caleb Grill, and actually, I might even allow Tamar Bates to take that shot. I would allow Anthony Robinson to take that shot the way he was playing tonight. But there have been a few times this year, the end of one loss, and I can't remember offhand it was, but like T.O. Barrett missed the tying three. The end of one loss, Mark Mitchell missed the tying three. I understand he hit one against Kansas. This one, like Jacob Cruz, look, I get the Dennis Gates wants all his guys to always shoot. I totally understand it. And it usually works. But there have to be times in the game where guys understand who they are. Jacob Cruz cannot take that three-pointer in overtime. He just absolutely cannot. Cole is asking about the subs. I'm going to have to look it up because honestly, like, I don't know. I didn't necessarily notice it. I am looking up substitutions in the second half right now. Yeah, I mean, Gates was subbing Cruz and Warwick and Pierce in and out quite a bit in the last couple minutes. Sub Gray and Cruz in and out a couple times. The last time Mark Mitchell came out of the game, because the question specifically about Mark Mitchell, the last time Mark Mitchell came out of the game was with 10:35 left. And I understand why, like, you'd like to try to find him a break in there. But also, man, like, you've got to have Mark Mitchell in that game, especially in a game where Josh Gray's giving you nothing. Jacob Cruz isn't playing very well. Trent Pierce rendered himself unplayable. Like, there has to be a guy over 6'4" on the court, So at that point, it's got to be Mitchell. And like, I don't think it was. I don't know. Maybe you guys can find. Maybe Cole has examples of when Mitchell's like exhaustion got to him. I didn't specifically notice that in the game. But he ran out of guys that were playable in the front court. I mean, and again, I am not taking blame off Dennis Gates for this game. He 100% deserves some blame for this one. A lot of it. Just addressing that specific issue. Cook says, I knew we were going to lose when Mitchell stepped out of bounds with 30 seconds left. So again, I want to go back to the big guys, and Drew will testify to this when he comes on. I texted Drew with 17 minutes left, something like that. And I said, they're going to lose to a Vanderbilt team playing a C game. Like, it just felt all night to me like they were going to lose. And then let's address the one super major positive of this. And that is Anthony Robinson trying to carry Missouri to a win almost by himself. 2 step back threes, a floater, 2 free throws, a steal, an offensive rebound that really should have iced the game until, like you said, Mitchell stepped out of bounds. And you could question why Mitchell has the ball in his hands there. If I remember, Bates kind of drove, but they're looking to save time and to burn time instead of necessarily score right there. And so when he starts to back it out, Mitchell's the open guy. Big play there, no question. But like, Mitchell's not a terrible ball handler. He made a mistake there, no doubt. Got sidetracked though. Like, Anthony Robinson, elite game. Like, I've never seen him take over like that. That was the best half of his career. And he deserved to win that game. Tamar Bates took over for a few minutes in the first half. Caleb Grill took over for a few minutes in the first half. And then both of those guys had a steal late. So, like, I'll go those 3 guys, and really even Mitchell in the second half, were good enough. Missouri got burned because it didn't have a 5th guy that was good enough. Tony Perkins gave him nothing tonight. Josh Gray gave him nothing tonight. Jacob Cruz didn't give him much. And Trent Pierce, I mean, just absolutely really hurt him badly down the stretch. No question. So, and this is David Newman says multiple unquestionable player screw ups late, but everyone blames Gates for all of it. And that's the thing, guys. Like, yeah, Gates gets blamed, but so do the players. Like, some of it's bad plays, Again, bad shot by Cruz. bad defense by Pierce. Mitchell has the turnover. I mean, a lot of things we can point to. So before Drew hops on, let's go ahead and check the voicemail line. I've listened to none of these. I have a feeling they will be elite.
Well, there's 23.4 seconds left to go in the game, but I don't think anything's going to vastly change my opinion. Defense looked bad in the first half. I don't know what was wrong with that. We also had some really uncharacteristic turnovers. I think at one point it was Vandy was leading us like 13-4 in turnovers, which is just not acceptable for this team. We're not going to win if we're turning the ball over, especially with how poorly we rebounded on both ends. Ant, Grill, and Tamar Bates are so important to this team. Once they got hit hot towards the end on defense, it made it so much easier to kind of contain them. But also, just want to give my flowers to Dennis Gates. I think a lot of that second half offense was him looking for and searching for those mismatches, and I'm glad we found those. MIZ.
All credit to that caller, and I'm gonna add Drew in now. Drew, we just had a voicemail that came in with 23 seconds left, and he said, "Hey, there's 23 seconds left, but I don't think anything's going to change to vastly change my opinion of this game." Oh boy!
Oh no!
It vastly changed in the last 23.4 seconds.
That is brutal.
Yeah.
Thanks for calling in.
Yeah. Hey, look, Drew, for the record, I do not blame you for being at this game. Like, this is not your fault. We have established this game is on Dennis Gates and Trent Pierce. That's who this game is on. Like, I don't know any. And I know I said what did they say afterwards? Because I know that you tweeted that Dennis said he should have called a timeout. 100% agree. Didn't call one on defense, then also didn't call one on offense.
Right. So I wanted to pull up the Otter transcript just so I don't misquote him. I said, can you kind of walk us through that last play and what you were wanting to see defensively? He said, well, I got to do a better job of organizing our team defensively. I had a timeout and I should have used it. I said, did you want to see your players foul up 3 in that spot? He said, I should have used the timeout to organize my team a lot better than I did. And that's on me at the end of the day. Strategy is strategy, but I need to use a timeout to get our team set. And I just assumed and didn't do what I needed to do. So that was Dennis Gates after the game.
I mean, fair, because, like, he's right. I don't know what else. Like, he can't go back and change what happened. So all he can do is. So let's and I want to point out, guys, like, this is why we go. So Drew can ask that question. So somebody is there to ask Dennis those questions because you deserve answers to those questions after this game. So let's start there. First of all, they brought up on the broadcast, no timeouts for Vandy. Let's see if Dennis Gates calls one to set his defense. He didn't. Whatever. I mean, okay. But when then your team screws it up, like, then it's your fault. Like, it's not your fault with 9 seconds left, but it's retroactively your fault.
Yeah, and I think that everybody in the building kind of knows, okay, just don't give up a 3 here, right? Even if you don't know you can foul up 3, like, you at least know you got to defend the 3-point line. And talking to Mark Mitchell after the game, he said it kind of caught them off guard when AJ drove into the paint and kind of broke that 3-point arc because they were expecting the 3 to come. And so
that's how you get a 3.
Exactly. And Mark Byington was shouting on the sideline, get a 3. He said, I don't know where it was going to come from. I thought they were going to foul up 3. And they got it into the hands of their best shooter. Like, I think that's the most concerning part of all of it is, like, the one guy you can't leave open is who made the game tying shot and really the game winning shot. So yeah, like, hindsight is 2020, obviously, but there were so many things that could have been executed better in those last 10 seconds.
And like Luther Burden, the GOAT, says, driving kick surprises you. Like, that's a problem if that play surprised you. It didn't surprise literally anyone else. And so like, again, yes, Gates probably should have called a timeout, but also your players just have, like, they understand basketball. They know the score and the time. Like, the one shot you can't allow to be shot, go in or not. Like, this is where we're judging on the result a little bit. But I don't even care if that shot misses. It's horrible. Like, Missouri, at that point, Missouri's just lucky if he misses.
Yeah. And I'm sure you've already brought up Trent Pierce, and I'm sure we've got some voicemails about him too. I did ask, Dennis about him. He said, I thought he did good defensively, but there down the stretch, he didn't do some things that I thought got us. And he has to be better in certain situations. He thought Trent obviously could have done a lot better rebounding wise as well. And I don't want to pile on Trent here. Like, in a tie game like that, you can point to any number of things that went wrong, right? Like, Mizzou missed a bunch of free throws too. But in that spot, Trent absolutely has to be better, right? And you have to know where Tyler Nickel is on the floor.
And then gave up the first 6 points of overtime. Yeah. Like, I mean, he just did. It's not piling on. Like I said earlier, I'm not insulting the kid. I'm not saying he's a bad basketball player. This was a very bad night. No question. Yeah. So would you have fouled?
Yeah, I would have. And Vandy was shooting it pretty well from the free throw line, but even then, you're still up by one. Let
me give the only defense of it. I gave it at the beginning. Like, I would not have initially fouled because they crossed midcourt with 6 seconds left. That's too much time to foul to me. Mm-hmm. Now, once they cross the 3-point line and haven't shot it, that's where you foul. You foul with 4.5 left, whatever. But I understood why they initially didn't foul, but then to allow the play that they allowed was did he say anything? Like, my bigger problem was you've got 2.3 seconds left. That's time to set a play. Why is your play a 55-foot heave?
Yeah, again, he just said I should have called the timeout there. I didn't press him further on the offensive play, but again, and we are judging the result, right? But yeah, I like I said, there's a million things that could have been executed better there for sure.
Yeah. And Bryce Isbell says, I believe that's 4 close losses with timeouts in the pocket. Look, I remember this one in the A&M one, but like, it's fair. He's lost 2 games because he didn't call a timeout.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And that's a problem. I said, let's, and we won't keep you here all night, but let's get to the other big problem. I said right before you came on, look, Vandy and Arkansas have shown me how this team's going to lose in March. 92 points in the paint between them. At least Arkansas has a 7-footer. Like, Vandy doesn't. To let that team score 48 points in the paint, especially on a night they started 2 for 18 from 3, is just absolutely unfathomable.
Yeah, I actually asked Mark Byington because they shot 67% in the second half and then 80% in overtime. And so I was like, what changed? And he said that first half was kind of frustrating, but once we figured out if we get 2 feet in the paint, we're going to score, that opened up everything for us. And so, Mizzou did not have an answer for Vanderbilt attacking the rim as much as they did. And Mark Mitchell is a good player. He's not a true rim protector.
That's not his job on this team.
Yeah. That's what you are kind of relying on Trent Pierce for, right? The 6'10".
Well, and not only Trent Pierce, but I said it earlier. Dennis Gates told us all year Josh Gray should be all SEC defensive team. Mm-hmm. If you have an all SEC defensive team, big man, that team doesn't get anywhere near 48 points in the paint. He was not nearly good enough to like the excuse after Arkansas was we lost that game because we didn't have Josh Gray. It was worse tonight with him.
And Josh Gray 4 fouls. Couldn't keep him on the floor down the stretch. And I thought he was fine when he was in there, but it was because he ran into foul trouble. Like, they couldn't go back to him. So,
also because he just doesn't do it. Like, in a game where you have to score, he's not going to help your offense a lot.
Yeah. And so, I feel like the Trent Burns believers are a little bit vindicated now.
Yeah. Well, again, 48 points in the paint. He didn't play tonight. Guys, we can quit having that conversation. Carter says this game is why Dennis isn't coach. I've got bad. He didn't get fired after the game, did he, Drew?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, he's still coach. I just want to make sure. I wanted to clarify that. I don't want it to be all doom and gloom. I've never seen Ant Robinson take over a game like he did there.
Yeah.
Unbelievable half. He deserved to win that game.
He, Dennis talked earlier in the year about how he kind of ran into a wall as a sophomore, and he's pushed past it these last few games. You could start to see him really developing that confidence again. And I thought tonight, for that last 10 minutes, he was one of the best players on the floor. Like you said, he just completely took over the game. He exposed every matchup that he had. And you remember, Gabe, like the first time against Vanderbilt, he really struggled. They put MJ Collins and AJ Hogarth on him, and he really did not handle going up against that kind of size very well. And tonight, he did a much better job. He was getting into the paint pretty consistently. He was making his threes, which his jumper has like continuously developed. I don't remember the last time I saw him miss a three-pointer. So I thought that he was fantastic tonight.
I mean, they had 3.5 guys that absolutely were good enough to win that game. Ant, Tamar Bates, Caleb Grill, and second half Mark Mitchell were good enough to win that game.
Yeah.
They just couldn't find the fifth guy.
Yeah.
Whether it was Pierce, Gray, Cruz, Tony Perkins gave them nothing. Like, they had 4 guys and they needed 5.
Yeah. I think that's a very fair point. And like, even in the first half they had 2 guys, right? It was Tamar and it was Caleb. And obviously, like, they got out to a big lead, but like, you need more guys stepping up in those spots because Caleb Grill isn't going to bail you out every single time.
Right. I was encouraged by late first half Tamar doing what we begged him to do. Like, all right, give me the ball. I'm going to go score. All right, Carter's in his feelings a little bit. Wants to know if this is still a Final Four team. So, like, look, this is – and I erased so many things that I had written when it went to overtime because, like, they just didn't matter. But I said, like, this game is every game the rest of the year. Yes, you can win every game you play the rest of the year. And you can also, like, they have won at Florida. They have beaten Alabama. And they have now lost to a Vanderbilt team that frankly didn't play very well until there were 2 minutes left in regulation. So every team they play the rest of the year, that's why anybody dismissing the first round, no, they can 100% lose to anybody they face in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. And like, how differently would we feel if Dennis Gates called that timeout and did set up his defense and the game doesn't go into overtime? Like, I mean, we're
a little.
This isn't like a B+ game, right? This is not one of their best performances of the year, but at least that gets them the road win, right? And that's kind of what's been the issue all season long. So, my feelings about kind of the ceiling for the team haven't changed too much. But this is the kind of games that they're going to lose. We haven't talked about just how dominant Vanderbilt was on the glass too.
They had 12 offensive rebounds in the first 6 minutes.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm looking at the wrong number. 18 for the game. So, like, that obviously doesn't help. And they didn't score a ton of second chance points. I think they scored 12. But between the early turnovers and those offensive rebounds, like, Mizzou should have been up 15 plus by halftime.
100%.
Instead of single digits. So there were a lot of things that hurt them along the way.
I told the viewers that you would testify that with about 16 minutes left, I texted you that Missouri was going to lose the game.
Yes, you did.
Now, I thought that was different. I'll admit, with 2 minutes left, I thought they had it won. Mm-hmm. I didn't think they were going to lose it the way they lost it. It just looked they should have been, like, Vandy was shooting 12% from 3. And let's be honest, in the first 8 minutes of that second half, Missouri got every call. And it was a 1-point game. I mean, That's where they lost. And then, like, every time they got up 5 or 6, they just even down to the Mitchell stepping out of bounds. Like, every time they had a
Oh, that
chance to
was
drive
brutal.
every time they had a chance to drive the nail in, they just didn't do it.
Yeah.
And credit Vandy for walking through the door. Like, they do deserve credit, but also to walk through the door has to be open.
Yes, and Mizzou let them hang around just a little bit too long. You know, obviously Nickel's going to get the credit for hitting the game winner, but like Jason Edwards hit a huge one on the play before that, and I thought it was pretty well
shot,
defended.
you just tip your cap. There's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah.
They made plays. They don't come back without making plays, and they deserve credit. But it just felt like I don't know. You tell me if this is wrong. I felt like Missouri lost this game far more than Vanderbilt won it.
Yeah, I think that's accurate.
And that's why, like, big picture, we'll let you go after this. But big picture, I mean, you had control of everything, and now you basically have control of nothing. And like, you're almost certainly not going to be a top 4 seed in the SEC tournament. But like, now, if you're a 5 or a 6 on Selection Sunday, I don't really think you have any right to bitch about it.
Yeah. Well, because the road record is what's going to sink them the most, right? Everybody else is going to be they're going to have more than how many do they have now? 2 or 3?
3.
Most teams are going to have a lot
6.
more than that. Yeah, double that. So that's going to be the talking point for why Mizzou shouldn't be a top 4 seed. Now, there's still a lot to like about the resume, but to be a top 4 seed, like, this is kind of the kind of game that you need to win.
Right. And let's be clear. There's not that big a difference between being a 4 and a 5 or a 3 and a 6. It's the uniform you wear. So it doesn't really matter that much. But, you know, theoretically, if you're a 3 seed or a 4 seed in the first round, it's a lot less likely you get beat.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, frankly, if they're a 5 or a 6, they might be playing a team like Arkansas or Vanderbilt. We've seen what can happen.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, Drew, appreciate you, man. I'm going to let you go right. I only got to one voicemail, and it was the guy who seemed happy that Missouri was going to win the game. So we're going to finish things out and see how it goes.
All right. Good luck.
All right, man. Have a good one. That is Drew King live from Nashville. And in all seriousness, guys, I want to make this point one more time. Like, this is why Drew's there. Nobody else is there. Everybody else that covers Missouri is waiting on radio quotes. Drew is there to ask Dennis Gage what happened in the last 10 seconds. And you don't have to like his answer. You don't have to agree with it. Whatever, when you read it, whatever he said, he said. We can't control the answer to that question. He is there to ask that question. You heard him. He did. He followed up on it. Whatever comes out of it at that point comes out of it. But I do want to point that out. Real quick before we go back to the voicemails, I do want to remind you that all of our post-game shows throughout basketball season, and we're going to do one. We won't do one after Oklahoma, but we'll do one after Kentucky, and then every postseason game. They're all going to be brought to you by friends at the Bruning Law Firm. Look, they want to get you back to your life as quickly as possible after you've been hurt. So, and hey, if they can get you some money, they're going to do their best to make sure that you are made whole if you have been injured. You can get a hold of them for a free consultation. Again, no obligation. Just call them for a consultation, 573-400-2796, 573-400-2796. AJ and all the team at the Bruning Law Firm, huge Mizzou fans. So, look, if you find yourself in that situation, go to somebody who you have a common interest with, who probably is as irritated tonight with Dennis Gates and crew as you guys all are. 573-400-2796 for the free consultation. All right. Now we're going to hit the voicemail line. You guys keep putting your messages in the chat and I'll get to them, but do want to get to the voicemails.
Hey, Gabe, just want to know why the hell that Mark Mitchell is dribbling the ball near Dennis Gates with 2 timeouts left, and Gates just watches him step on the line instead of using his timeout. Like, this is coaching malpractice. This is day 1 type shit. Call the fucking timeout and try to get a better shot off. And when you're up 3, fucking foul. It's the same old shit every year. I'm fucking tired of it.
Well, I'll disagree on one point. It's not the same thing every year. Last year they were 0-19. This year, good. This year we're mad about a close loss. Last year they lost to Vanderbilt. Nobody gave a shit. But no, I don't disagree with the other stuff. And I hadn't thought of it that way, but you're right. When Mitchell's got the ball there and kind of doesn't really look like he knows where he's going, then call the timeout then. Like, you're right. I'm not going to argue.
Gabe, how many fucking times do we have to see Trent Pierce get blown off the ball before he gets taken out of the game? How many times do we have to see him lose his man on defense before he's taken out of the game? Trent Pierce cost Mizzou the game there on that last possession because he was lazy and got lost, allowed their best shooter to get wide open for a three, and then Hogarth's in the lane dribbling around with the basketball, and we're just watching him. Same old shit every year. Every time Mizzou has an opportunity, they squander it away. Had a chance to make room in the standings today, fucking squandered it. I'm fucking tired of it.
You guys correct me. That same caller? Maybe not. Used a lot of the same phrasing.
Gabe, what are we doing? I love Gates. I want to get behind Gates. I think he's the right guy. You foul up 3 every time. It's not even a question anymore. It was a question years ago. The numbers support it. You effing foul every time up 3. What are we doing?
Yeah. Yeah. We covered that. And like, as far as Gates, I mean, look, good coaches have bad nights, right? And he had one. That doesn't make you happy about it. And the concerning thing, like we talked about earlier, is this is the second time the first thing he said after a game is, I should have called a timeout. Well, fool me once, shame on me. You. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. He fooled us again tonight. And look, I'm not going to call it a trend yet, but like, that's concerning.
Gabe. Tiger Terry. Not a fun night, Gabe. Not a fun night. I want to talk to some lawyers at the Bruning Law Firm about bringing a civil suit against that punk Chris Menon for being one of the most annoying players I've ever seen touch a hardwood. I tell you what, Gabe, Tigers just could not get it done tonight. Why do you not foul on that last position by Vanderbilt? We just let him go down there and shoot it. Heck, I got a StubHub account. If Trent Pierce likes watching the game so much, I'll get him a seat. He can sit in the stands. We can get somebody in there to actually play some defense. Stop watching, Trent. Get in there. He did that against A&M. He did it again tonight. Here's my question, Gabe. Is it just me, or does it seem like ball security has become an issue for this team past couple games? Fun to get turnovers, not fun to commit them. Fight Tiger.
Okay, so I'll say this first of all. Any game that makes Tiger Terry more angry and focusing on the issues than focusing on the humor is, that was bad. Let me address two things. First of all, there have been more turnovers lately. I felt like tonight was like that first half. I texted Drew at one point and I said, somebody's going to break a bone in this game. Like, I actually thought it was going to favor Missouri because it was so fast and so physical and so sloppy that I just thought, I don't know, you just go hack the hell out of them and they'll probably turn it over. Like, I felt like in a lot of games, quite a few of those turnovers Missouri had would have been called fouls. Now, to be fair, they weren't being called fouls the other way either. So I'm fine with it. Consistency. I'm not saying that the officials were screwing Missouri or anything. Just there are a lot of games where I feel like a lot of those turnovers have been fouls. That wasn't the case tonight. Third point from Terry. And I want to say, I don't know if you are allowed to bring a civil suit against someone for being annoying. But if you are, I'm going to call the Bruning Law Firm at 573-427-96 because I have an unbelievably long list of people I want to sue if that's the case.
I'm so fucking tired of coaches not fouling up 3. God damn it.
You know what, guys? If I gave the shows like specific titles, that would be the title of tonight's show.
I don't understand how you can let Trent Pierce play at the end of the game. He can't make free throws. He can't defend. He's not that great a rebounder. He absolutely screwed the pooch down the stretch. And somebody needs to teach Coach Gates that you foul when you're up 3 points in under 10 seconds. Coach cost us this one. Team played hard. Go Tigers.
That was a little too long to be the title of the show, but the sentiment's there.
I think we just saw the game that we're going to see in March that ends Mizzou's season. Basically comes down to free throws and the other team hitting shots and then Mizzou doing something stupid at the end of the game. In this case, not fouling when up 3 or guarding the 3-point shooter. I hope I'm wrong.
It's a fair concern, and it's my concern too. I mean, free throws, Missouri was 28 of 35 tonight. Like, that's 80%. I know Pierce missed 2 in the second half, but like, honestly, I was shocked he went 1 for 3. I thought that was good. I know Ant missed 1 early and 1 in the second half, but he made his last 2 or 3. Mitchell was 12 of 15. I can't complain about 12 of 15 from him. I know he had a miss in the second half, but free throws didn't cost them. I mean, the only way free throws cost them in this game is that Vanderbilt went 21 of 24, which is elite, but that's obviously out of your control. But the rest of it, yeah. I mean, look, guys, it's interior defense. It's a stupid play at the wrong time. And very certainly fair to be scared that a game like that sends Missouri home. No doubt about it.
Gabe, Drew, John from Kansas City here. Bummed with the result for sure. Would have loved the team to do a couple things differently in the last couple minutes. I think that goes without saying. But at the end of the day, we lost on the road to a tournament team. It happens in college basketball. Weird comebacks happen in college basketball. I don't think the ceiling's on fire. I don't think the building's burning down. It happens. So hopefully we finish out this next week strong, maybe pick up a win in the SEC tournament, lock down a 4 seed for March Madness, and see what happens in March.
Look, I appreciate the perspective. And if you feel that way, that's fine. I just don't tonight. Yeah, these games do happen sometimes, and they suck when they happen. And when they happen, they're the reason you're playing on Thursday instead of Friday, or they're the reason you're a 5 seed instead of a 4 seed, and you playing in Raleigh, North Carolina, as opposed to, I don't know. Well, you're not going to play in Raleigh, but you get my point. You're playing in Cleveland instead of Wichita, or whatever, Providence instead of Denver. So yeah, it happens, but like, I think the problem now is it's happened to Missouri 3 times this year. Texas is a maybe tournament team. If they're in the tournament, it's because they beat Missouri in part. Arkansas is I guess, tournament team, largely because they beat Missouri. I think Vandy was a tournament team anyway. This made it a lock. Like, sometimes it happens, but that doesn't mean that you're okay. The way this one happened, guys, literally, they were 9 seconds away from absolutely everything they wanted. Like, all you got to do now, this was the hardest game they had left. You win this one, all you got to do is go beat a bad Oklahoma team and then come home and beat Kentucky in your arena where you've lost 1 time all year. And you get a top 4 seed in both tournaments, and everything is there. And that's all very much in question right now. So I'm not really just going to chalk it up to, yeah, it kind of happens. You know how it doesn't happen? If you play defense at the end, or if you call a timeout at the end. Like, this was bad. It's fine to say it was bad. And Lockster says you got to call a spade a spade. I think he's talking about Gates more than he's talking about this. But, like, look, this is like, it was bad tonight. And I'm not going to say that it's not. People have been looking for a reason to push Mizzou down to a 5 seed, and we seem willing to oblige. That's what tonight was, guys. You gave them a reason, right? Like, how many times have I said, I don't think that officials usually lose a game. It happens every now and then, right? But when you leave, it's your fault for leaving it in their hands, right? Okay, if a game was, and like there are exceptions. I mean, like that Arizona loss the other night, that was brutal. It's a terrible call. But I'm just saying, like if there are 2 or 3 calls that you complain about in a 40-minute game, well, you left it in their hands. You know, there were a lot of things you didn't do. Missouri has now left it in the committee's hands. And hey, maybe other teams lose enough. Maybe Missouri makes a run in the SEC tournament. Like it's not off the table. Even a top 4 seed, even a double bye is not off the table. It's hard now. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's not off the table. So like none of those things completely disappeared tonight. It's just that you had them. Like they were pretty much done and you gave them back. And now you have left it up to someone else. And you know, that's tough. Like it should be a hard couple of days of practice. And like Dennis Gates is going to beat himself up tonight, and he should. And look, I want to say this too. I'm sure Trent Pierce and Jacob Cruz and Josh Gray and all the guys we're talking about, they feel worse about it than like I do. I can't speak for some of you guys. Some of you guys might feel worse than they do, but like they know, like they know. You know, so like Drew said, we're not trying to pile on anybody. I'm never going to call a kid a name or say he doesn't deserve a scholarship or any of that. But I am going to say when plays lose games, and some of those guys made plays that lose games, you know. So I still think it's possible we make it far in the tourney. Sure, like that's not off the table. I mean, they still could be a 4. They can't be a 3 now. They still could be a 4, 5, 6, whatever. Teams seated there make runs all the time. Here's my goal for Missouri: get to the second weekend. Be playing on the second weekend. Whatever happens after that is gravy. And like, I'm not saying you shouldn't root for a Final Four and hope for a Final Four. All that, absolutely, you should. But to me, get to the second weekend. This team has not been there since I want to say 2009. I could be wrong. I'm going off the top of my head. I think 2009. Get there, then whatever. If you're playing Auburn, Duke, whoever you might be playing, take your chances. But I think it's all gravy at that point. Let's see. There was a question for Drew. I'm sorry we missed this, Henry, when Drew was on. Most ideal first round matchup for Mizzou. At this point, like, and again, that's part of the deal is like, because we can't even really guess like who you're going to play at this point, because like when you had it, because we don't know where Missouri's going to be seated now. So like, the problem might be now your second round opponent. So if you go in and you're a 4 seed, right? Well, sometimes 5 seeds lose. And so if the 5 seed gets upset in the first round, you might be playing Chattanooga in the second round, right? And that's not always a guarantee, as we know from Princeton. But now let's say you're a 5 seed or a 6 seed, like that 3 or 4 is probably winning their first game. So now you're talking about like Iowa State, Purdue, Texas Tech, something like that. That's much more difficult. So let's see. Aaron's asking a question. I wondered if Mark actually stepped out of bounds. I assume so. I mean, it was right in front of the Missouri bench. Nobody really argued. They review everything in college basketball, and they didn't review that. So I'm going to assume he stepped out of bounds. David, excellent point, man. No mention of the dead ball foul by Jacob Cruz. Like so many other bad things happened that I forgot about it, but that you can't do that. I think it was 77-73. I think it came right after the Mitchell stepping out of bounds. I mean, absolutely awful. That's a great point. So many things happened that I forgot about it. But yeah, 100% you're right. Let's see. Guys, the Trent Burns thing. I can't do it. He didn't play in a 30-point win over South Carolina, and he didn't play in a game in which Missouri gave up 48 points in the paint. He's not playing, guys. Stop. We're not going to do this. Everybody thinks we're going to lose to Oklahoma. Oklahoma sucks. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I'd be pretty surprised. All right. I think John says maybe they'll let us play all the tournament games at home. I've said if the NCAA tournament was played in Mizzou Arena, I would pick Missouri to win it. All right. People are now complaining that Dennis did a lot of interviews this week. Come on, guys. It's great press. You loved all the stories. This is stupid. Like, there are legitimate things to complain about from this game. He should have called a timeout. He should have done a lot of things different. The fact he did an interview didn't lose this game. All right. So I think we've kind of covered it all. It sucks tonight. No question. Season's not over, but you don't control it. And you should have controlled it because you should have won this game. Like Arkansas, I felt like they got outplayed. Texas, the ball didn't go in. This was the first one this year that I felt like you should have won the game and you blew it. And that's why this one, like I said at the beginning, I remember after bragging rights, I came on here and I said it was a loss, but somehow that game made me feel better about Missouri than a lot of the wins had. This loss tonight was different for me. And not like going forward that it spells doom or that they're buried or anything. But this was the first time all year where I felt like they just blew it. Like they had it and they gave it away. And it wasn't really just something as simple as the shot didn't go down or the other team played well. It was just you made a lot of mistakes that a team that is as good as you have been all year and wants to go where you want to go shouldn't make. And today was March 1st. The next time you make those mistakes, your season's over. So I guess if you want me to leave you with the silver lining here, season's not over. This loss didn't send them home, didn't end anything. Next time those mistakes happen, it will. So you hope it's lesson learned. And you hope it doesn't happen again. But we will see. Appreciate everybody hanging out here. While you're on the stream, please like and comment, subscribe to the channel, share what we're doing. If you're listening on the podcast, which I will put together after this, please leave a nice comment and share it on social media. And also want to remind you to get in touch with our friends at the Bruning Law Firm. They're located in Missouri, but if you're in Missouri, if you're in Kansas, if you're in Illinois, they've got an experienced team of lawyers that's going to use their data to resolve your case as quickly as they possibly can, get you back to your life. First call, no obligation, no money, nothing. You just call them for a free consultation, 573-400-2796. Tell them Power Mizzou sent you, and they are going to take care of you, especially if you are a Missouri fan. I am sure that they would do their best for anybody that's not a Missouri fan, but just mention it. Can't hurt. 573-400-2796. Appreciate you guys listening or watching, as the case may be. Instant reaction on the site. Drew's going to have a lot more from Nashville tonight. We'll be back with a live show Monday night, and Mizzou, Oklahoma play on Wednesday. So we will talk to you later. Appreciate it, guys.